Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 220th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. As most of you know, I usually put a battle just on Saturday mornings, but today's Sunday. All the family's gone out to different destinations, and the computer's free. So I thought I'd put a Sunday bonus battle on for you to watch, and I hope you enjoy it. The first team member is Brotherhood member Uther, who's bought the Rome Julio faction. Just like you to notice that he's quite heavy on infantry and has only bought 3 cavalry. So it'll be interesting to see if that number of infantry will make up for the lack of cavalry during the course of the battle. That's an unusual army for Uther to bring. So as I said, it'd be interesting to see what happens during the course of the battle. Our next teammate is Brotherhood member JGP, who has bought the Seleucid faction. And if you notice, he's got a lot of the Silver Shield Legionnaires, which is unusual kind of Seleucid army for the 31k battlefield, as most people bring mostly the Silver Shield Pike units. But as you can see, he's bought the Silver Shield Legionnaires here. They're a little bit like urban cohorts, but their specifications aren't as good as the urbans, but they do throw pilers as well. And I see he's got 2, 4, 6, 7, he's got about 9 of those, 8 or 9 of those units, and then he's got a couple of the Seleucid Silver Shield pikemen there. As you say, see there, you can see how long those pikes are and how difficult it is to fight down those pikes to kill the men on the other end there. So that's his infantry there. And now we move over to the infamous Seleucid Cataphract Cavalry, or the tanks of the ancient world as we call them. As you can see, his Cataphract Cavalry have got 8 upgrades on. That's 2 experience stripes, gold shield and gold attack. Make no mistake, these cavalry are battle-winning, battle-changing troops if used correctly. And as you can see, their armour from head to toe, very difficult to kill. So, as I say, with all those Silver Shield Legionnaires, it's an unusual Seleucid army to bring to the modern 31k battlefield, but should be interesting to see how it does during the course of the battle. And then the final teammate is myself, Spartan Commander, who has unusually bought the Germania faction. Now, just to say that this particular army is probably at least 9 or 10 years old, and as a lot of regular viewers to our videos will know, is sometimes I like to bring old battles onto the modern day battlefield. I've dusted this one up, cleaned it up a little bit, and decided to bring it to the, as I said, the modern day battlefield to see how well it does on RTW in 2016. Okay, I've got chosen axemen. Now these guys are effective against armor. Can you see those axes? They are the effective against armor axes, and used properly, these guys can cut a swathe through heavily armored Roman troops. I say I've got about 5 or 6 of those, I believe. Then also what I've incorporated in this old army is Knight Raiders. Now if you notice the upgrades I put on those Knight Raiders, can you see there's 8 upgrades? So they're that's 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. Now these troops are tough in their own right, but they've also got a fear factor where they intimidate nearby enemy troops, therefore lowering their morale and making them more susceptible to routing. So these Knight Raiders, not only, as I say, are tough, but they've got that fear factor that makes enemy troops more susceptible to routing. And then we move on to the Gothic Cavalry. Now this Gothic cavalry is very underestimated cavalry, underrated these are, but if you look at their specifications, they are a very, very good, tough cavalry. If you notice, I put 7 upgrades on each of those cavalry units. That's an experience stripe, gold shield, gold attack. And then we move on to what possibly are the one of the strongest units in the game, and that's the Berserkers. Now these Berserkers are based on real historical characters. The real historical characters were kind of lonesome people that kept themselves to themselves and had an aura about them of "don't come near me." And in battle, they either had a cocktail of drugs, got drunk, or had mental health issues and literally went berserk in battle. And both friend and foe alike tried to give them a wide berth because they just didn't want to get near them. And that's why these guys are so tough. In this game, they've got 2 hit points. Very good specifications, and those maces they carry are effective against armor. The real historical berserkers were often seen stripped naked, running around after a battle, covered in blood and gore, screaming like banshees. So that's how how these men were in reality after a battle there. So there's my Germania army. As I say, it's about 10 years old, and it'll be interesting to see how well it does on the modern 2016 battlefield there. But just to say that no matter how good a Germania army I bring, it all depends on how good your allies are. If your allies know the strengths and weaknesses of Germania, they can really help and make and kind of fulfill the full potential of your attacking Germania army. Remember, the Germania is built for attack. It's not a defensive faction. It is really an attacking one. So if your allies are really good and really help you on the battlefield, then that's when the Germania comes into its own. At this stage of the game, I thought I'd show you my old formation. Well, as I say, this army is 9 to 10 years old, and this is a formation that I always use when I've used this army in the past. If you notice, I've got Knight Raiders on the flanks, and the chosen Axemen with their effective against armour in the middle, and the Berserkers just behind them, and then the Archers behind them, and then the Cavalry behind them. So when I attack, I tend to go in with the chosen Axemen and the Knight Raiders first, let them get in contact with the enemy. Then I activate the Berserkers and throw them in, and then finally I charge in with my Gothic Cavalry. And with my allies charging as well, very often this army has caused enemy armies to rout. Be interesting to see. And here is the enemy team. We have RTW player Lee. Now I think this guy is the guy that actually copies Conan's name in the lobby. A lot of you might not know that Conan, the real Brotherhood Conan, doesn't play RTW anymore, but I think this guy is the one that actually uses Conan's name in the lobby. But he's called himself Lee in this battle, and as you can see, he's bought the Rome Brutio faction. And then we have RTW player Indy. Now a lot of you will know Indy, a very good RTW player. You know, whenever you face him, you're going to be in for a real battle. And he's also bought the Rome Brutio faction. And then we have RTW player Terrible Turk, who has unusually bought the Thrace faction. A very unusual faction to bring to the RTW battlefield there. See those Thrace pikemen there? I've got extremely long pikes, very difficult to kill. A phalanx pikeman there. And my guess is that the reason he's bought these pikemen, if you look at the upgrades, they're fully upgraded. Can you see there's 9 banners above them? Those are fully upgraded pikemen, and the reason he's bought those pikemen are to counter the Germania army. Okay, that's why he's bought so many pikemen. And I think he's got some light militia missile cavalry as well as foot archers. So it should be an interesting game to see how well these Thrace pikemen do against our team. As you can see, those are extremely long pikes there, and if my Germania army face those pikes, then my Germania army will die quite quickly. So I must try and avoid them at all costs. But should be an interesting one for you to watch. Okay, at this very early stage of the battle here, can you see how Uther has brought his infantry heavy army out to the front of our team there? Now he's making his ambitions known there, as he's going to be an aggressive attacking Rome general there. Both, as I say, both JGP and Uther realise that the strengths and weaknesses of my Germania army, and they know that really they need to attack first and then allow my Germania army to come through their fighting units to hit the enemy. So I just hope that you'll be able to see this in action. Especially new players to RTW, you might find this quite interesting to see how a barbarian faction working hand in hand with good allies can try and be effective on the modern 31k battlefield. Right, as you can see here, Uther really being aggressive here, advancing into the enemy Brutii army there, showing his aggression right from the start, showing what his intentions are right from the start there. Nice to see aggressive play there by Uther. But if you notice that Terrible Turk has moved his Thracian pikemen over there as well, anticipating that Uther's going to attack there, and therefore my Germania army would come through in that particular part of the battlefield. As I said before, Germania against pikes is a very bad thing to do, and my army would die quite quickly against pikes. Okay, let's just pause the game, take stock of the situation. As I said, you can see Uther here right from the beginning of the game, straight out into the face of the enemy there with his Julii army, making his intention known straight away. He's going to be aggressive and attack I say right from the beginning of the battle there. But as you can see, Terrible Turk has moved his pikes in with his ally, and that Brutii cavalry at the back is ready to counter-attack if we do attack there. As you can see, I've got my Germania army positioned at the back of my allies there, mostly to avoid archer fire and also to be able to move from one side to the other as I want. As you can see, Lee here is kind of doing a bit of a right flanking action here on JGP's Seleucid army there. But also there, can you see Uther's flank is slightly exposed. If Lee decides to charge in there with cavalry and infantry, Uther's, as I said, flank could be exposed there. If you notice here, Lee's got 5 good archer units here that he's peppering a JGP's Seleucid army with here. And also, as you can see, Terrible Turk's got his militia missile cavalry out on that flank. If you notice, Terrible Turk's got more militia cavalry, missile cavalry out here on the right flank as well there. Okay, let's see what happens next then. As you can see, Uther's still moving up towards the Brutii army straight in front of him there. And if you notice that JGP's moving his Seleucid army toward Lee's army there. He probably saw that Uther's flank was a little bit exposed there, and he's moved his Seleucid infantry forward to engage any problems there. As you can see, there's a bit of pilot exchanging going on here between Uther's army and India's Brutii army there. But as you can see, Terrible Turk's got his pikes lined up there, ready for my attack with Germania. Over here on the right flank, you can see that Lee has been exchanging some pilots with those Seleucid Silver Shield units there. And there's a general overview of the battlefield. Right, if you notice over on that left flank, can you see that Lee with his Brutii army is trying a flanking action there, a left flanking action on our Seleucid ally. He's got cavalry and infantry there, moving them round, trying to outflank JGP there. Now, I thought JGP may well pull his army back a little bit there to stop himself being flanked. If he brings back his battle line back towards his cavalry there, that could help his armies in not being flanked there. Right, let's just pause the game for a second. Right, as we were just saying here, you can see Lee's got his cavalry, he's got archers, and he's got his infantry in a left flanking action here on JGP. As you can see, one of JGP's infantry units is just routed there, but JGP's got his cavalry, his heavy cataphract tanks of the ancient world cavalry in behind his army. But that left flanking action could well be a bit of a problem there. Now at this time, I'm probably thinking to myself, if I move my Germania army over there, I might be able to take on Lee's army. But I think I'm going to leave it here for the time being. I don't want to give the game away, if you know what I mean. When you're playing as a Germania general, you've got to be a little bit crafty, tactical, strategic. Obviously not let the enemy know exactly what you're thinking with your Germania army. So, as I said here, can you see that JGP is moving his main battle line backwards to stop himself being flanked there? And if you notice that Lee now is not coming any more round to this flank here, because probably JGP's got his heavily upgraded cataphracts there, and of course my Germania army is hanging in the background there. JGP's fast-moving cavalry general there has been really good against the militia cavalry. Okay, let's just pause the game here for a second. Right, this is a bit of tactical craftiness here. Now, Uther's obviously shown how aggressive he's been against these India's army and the Thrace army. So I'm going to move my Germania army over there, and I'm hoping that the enemy team's thinking that I'm going to go in there with Uther when he charges in. So that's what I'm hoping that they're going to think there as I move my Germania army into that position. And for all intents and purposes, it really does look that I'm going to charge in there as soon as Uther attacks flat out with his infantry. Okay, so that's the impression that I want to give. But actually, I've got my eye on another target, and if the enemy move as I think they're going to move, then you'll see my army move quite fast. As you can see at the back here, my archers are fighting with that militia cavalry there, trying to hold them off, stopping them trying to get into the back of my infantry. Right, Let's just pause the game. Sorry, let's just restart the game here and see what actually happens. As you can see, I've alt-attacked my infantry there to fight that militia cavalry, and the militia cavalry has finally backed off them and been routed. Okay, so as I said, looking at the main part of the battle here, you can see that for all intents and purposes, my Germania army is waiting to charge in as soon as Uther goes in. But as I said earlier, I've got another target in mind, and I'm not going to let the enemy know that until I'm ready to move. Right, can you see that I'm now moving left? RTW veterans watching this, can you see where you think I'm going to target my attack? Okay, I've got to be quick. I've got to be fast with this attack. I've got to go in before any pikes can get where I want it. Right, can you see I'm attacking with my effective against armour axemen and my knight raiders, okay? So I'm charging them in first. Remember what I said earlier? That's what I do. I charge them in first. I'm now charging the berserkers in. Right, just pause the game. Can you see the banners flashing above the berserkers? I have now activated those berserkers, and they're now charging in with the rest of my axemen and my knight raiders. If you notice, can you look at the enemy there? Intimidated by a nearby enemy. Okay, so being intimidated by a nearby enemy means that their morale has dropped. Okay, and they're more susceptible to routing. Okay, so I've sent my axemen, my knight raiders, and my gothic and my berserkers in. Okay, the next stage is to send in my gothic cavalry. There's a close-up of the berserkers there. As I say, they're in berserk mode now, and they just go for the enemy. Okay, so I've sent all my infantry in now, and what I'm aiming to do is to just charge my cavalry. Just as those berserkers make contact with the enemy, I'm hoping that, there you go, can you see the berserkers, the axemen and knight raiders have all made contact with the enemy there. Lots of fear factor in the enemy, and now I'm going to charge my gothic cavalry in as the final stage of the attack. And bang, as that cavalry comes in. Can you see that the Brutii general has attacked with his cavalry as well? But I'm thinking with all my berserkers, my cavalry and all my infantry there going in, it's going to cause possibly a mass rout of the enemy Brutii infantry. Right, bang! There's all that cavalry charged in there. Right, can you see that the Thracian general is bringing pike units over to reinforce that flank now? But because those pike units are running into routing troops, their morale drops and they're fleeing as well. They're leaving the battlefield as well. Okay? So that little attack on the left, did you see the strategic, crafty, if you like, move that I did with that Germania army there to try and fool the other team there as I get to where my target was really going to be. Okay, if you notice now, I'm charging my axemen, knight raiders and berserkers are all going for this Thrace faction here. Now Thrace's morale is not very good anyway, so bearing in mind that they're going to be intimidated and frightened by my troops that are attacking, their morale is going to drop, and it wouldn't surprise me if they start to mass rout. Right, can you see here, Uther moved his army over there to protect us from Indy's Brutii cavalry coming in round behind us. So that's a nice strategic move there by Uther. So that was great, and as you can see, there's a close-up of the berserkers fighting with those Brutii troops there. There's one Brutii soldier being thrown up into the air by effective against armour mace used by the berserkers. And as you can see, JGP's heavy cataphract cavalry charging in, as well as my Germania Gothic cavalry charging into those Thracian pikemen there. As I say, Thrace's morale's not very good, so with the fear factor of the berserkers and the knight raiders, it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of mass routed there. And there, as you can see there, most of the Thracian spear, even though they were fully maxed, upgraded pikemen as you saw earlier, they still kind of routed under the impact of that attack there. Did you see most of the Brutii infantry now are dead? Can you see those berserkers smashing Brutii troops up into the air there as they move forward? That's the power of the berserkers. As you can see, Indy's cavalry is charged right through Uther's lines there, but Uther did extremely well in holding that cavalry, allowing us to attack the rest of the enemy team there. Okay, can you see I've sent my Germania cavalry forward there to take on that Brutii cavalry.
Now his men show fear.
Moving forward there, and I'm sending in some of my axemen and berserkers and knight raiders as well to back up my cavalry. And if you notice, JGP's tanks of the ancient world, those Seleucid cataphract cavalry are charging in as well. And that looks like our team has managed to go on to win the battle there.
fight, and the victory is yours.
But the one reason I wanted to show this battle was that maybe newer players to RTW might have never thought about taking Germania. Well, there was just something to show you there. Right, just like to show you the enemy kill count here. Now, that is low kill count, okay? But that is nothing to be surprised at, because if you notice, we hit them so fast and so hard, they didn't get really a chance to kill hardly any of us. They routed so quickly. So, actually, that is why they've got such low kill counts. And any army that we hit like that, whoever was the generals, would probably have just got those type of kills there, just because of the impact and the speed that we hit them with. Well done to JGP and Uther there. I thought the way they played was really good. As I said before, when you bring Germania, it's not just the army that you bring, it's how your allies help you during the course of the battle. Because Germania is built for attack. That's what they're built for, not defense, attack. And if ever you fancy taking Germania, as you see, the kills aren't too bad for Germania there either. So as I say, really well done to JGP and Uther for helping my faction so much there to attack. As I say, that's what having good allies does there. Let's just have a look at the statistics of the battle, the kills there. Can you see my chosen warlord there? Killed 129 with only 2 casualties. And if you look at my Gothic cavalry, can you see the kill count that the Gothic cavalry got there? The chosen archers didn't do too bad. The berserkers a bit disappointing there, actually. Quite disappointing kills there for the berserkers. And as you can see, the Knight Raiders and Chosen Axemen did okay. Not too bad for them, really. But as I say, usually the berserkers might have well over 100 kills each, those units. But they a little bit disappointed with the kills there. But once again, just to say that newer players and probably some veterans watching this would probably enjoy seeing how well Germania can be used if they've got good allies. As I say, even an army that's 10 years old, you know, being brought to the modern day battlefield, as long as you've got good allies to help you, then you can do quite well there. And as I say, new players to RTW, if you think about taking Germania, give it a go. You've just seen how effective they could be. Okay, this is Spartan Commander saying, hope you enjoyed the Sunday bonus battle, and look forward to seeing you soon, and bye for now.